Step 1. Building the wooden casing. The construction begins with the wooden casing. First, cut the wood using a circular saw. You need to build 3 wooden square casings, and for that, you will first cut the necessary sections. Each square casing consists of 4 wooden pieces, so in total you will need to cut 12 wooden pieces. To ensure a proper fit, each piece should be cut with miter cuts at 45-degree angles using a table saw. These angled cuts will allow the pieces to join seamlessly into square frames. Step 2. Preparing the opening for the cooling fluid container. Before assembling the square casings, we need to prepare the intermediate size casing, where the cooling fluid container will be placed. 1. Measure the diameter of the cooling fluid container. 2. Add an extra 2 cm to this measurement. 3. Use a circle cutter to cut out the marked circle, creating an opening that will fit the container. Step 3. Assembling the square casings. 1. Place the section on a straight edge or a wooden strip that acts as a mechanical stop, ensuring the sections stay aligned. 2. Apply tape across the 4 sections to create a hinge along the parts. 3. Flip the taped sections over so that the inner edges face up. 4. Apply water-resistant wood glue along the mitered edges. 5. Carefully fold the sections together to form a square casing, stacking them as needed. 6. To reinforce the structure while the glue dries, wrap additional tape around the casing to hold everything securely in place. Step 4. Gluing the 3 square casings together. Now we will glue the 3 square casings together using water-resistant wood glue. 1. Place the largest square casing at the bottom. 2. On top of it, glue the smallest square casing, but only on one half of the surface. 3. On the other half, glue the intermediate square casing, the one with the circular opening, making sure the hole is facing upwards to accommodate the cooling fluid container. 4. Ensure all parts are properly aligned and press them together firmly. Five. Install the electrical box on one side of the largest casing and drill a hole for the cables. Step 5. Preparing the electronic components. Now we move on to the electronic part of the Spore traps. 1. Take a thermoelectric element and cover it with heat-transmitting double-sided tape. 2. Attach 2 pieces of tape, one on each side of the thermoelectric element, ensuring full coverage for optimal heat transfer. Step 6. Identifying the hot and cold sides of the thermoelectric element. 1. Connect the thermoelectric element to the power supply for a few seconds. 2. Observe carefully to determine which side becomes hot and which side becomes cold. 3. Once identified, disconnect the power supply to avoid overheating. Step 7. Attaching the cooling components. 1. Take an aluminum air cooler and attach it to the cold side of the thermoelectric element, using the double-sided heat-transmitted tape applied earlier. 2. On the hot side, attach the water cooling block using the same type of tape. 3. Ensure both components are firmly secure for efficient heat transfer. Step 8. Installing the fans. 1. Place the fans in both sides of the radiator, setting them up in a push-pull configuration for redundancy. 2. Ensure that one fan is pushing air through the radiator, while the other is pulling air out, providing backup in case one fan fails. 3. Secure the fans tightly to the radiator to ensure proper airflow and cooling efficiency. Step 9. Installing the electronics and cooling unit. 1. Now move to the square casings and drill 8 holes in the casing to secure the radiator with the fans using zip ties. Afterward, drill 2 holes in the upper part of the smallest casing to mount the cooling unit. This includes the aluminum cooler, water cooling block, and thermoelectric element. Step 10. Soldering the wires. Now let's begin with sand soldering. 1. Extend the wires so they are long enough to reach the electrical box. 2. Use soldering to connect the extended wires properly. Three. Be sure to cover the soldered parts with glue shrinking tubing to ensure insulation and protection. Step 11. Fixing the cooling unit and installing the fan. 1. Fix the cooling unit to the inner top part of the smallest square casing. 2. Install an 80 mm fan behind the cooling unit, covering one of the open sides of the casing. 3. Ensure the fan is positioned to blow air towards the cooling unit, as shown in the video. Step 12. Wiring the electrical box and connecting components. 1. Insert 10 electrical clamps into the electrical box. 2. Connect 5 clamps for the positive connections. And then connect 5 clamps for the negative connections. Three. Connect the timer to control the overall functioning of the Spore trap. 4. Insert a temperature relay to switch the fan of the cooling unit on and off as needed. Step 13. Setting up the water circuit for cooling. Now we start working on the water circuit, which is responsible for cooling down the hot side of the thermoelectric element. 1. Install a plastic container, tube or cylinder of at least 1 liter to store the cooling fluid, which will circulate through the cooling unit when the Spore trap is running. 2. Drill a hole in the cooling fluid container for the backflow. Alternatively, the backflow can be directed through the lid instead. 3. Connect the lid of the container to a water pump, which will pump the cooling fluid through the system. Step 14. Connecting the water circuit. 1. Connect the water circuit hoses to the cooling unit. 2. Then connect the cooling unit to the radiator. 3. Finally, connect the radiator back to the cooling fluid storage container to complete the loop. 4. Do not forget to secure the hoses with hose clamps to prevent leaks. Step 15. Finalizing the Spore trap. 1. Connect the temperature sensors to the aluminum cooler to monitor the cooling process. 2. Fill the cooling fluid container. Use cooling fluid if you need to work with negative temperatures. Or use water if you are working with positive temperatures. 3. The Spore trap is now complete and ready to run.